The night stretches wide and ancient, its cold breath moving softly across a frozen plain. Above, the stars burn steady and distant, unchanged for longer than memory can reach. Below them, tucked against a wall of stone, a small fire glows inside a cave, its orange light flickering gently over rough rock and scattered tools of stone and bone. The world is quiet here, except for the low sigh of wind and the faint crackle of embers settling into ash. This is a time before names are written, before days are counted, before the land is mapped. Life moves slowly, measured by footsteps, by hunger, by warmth, by rest. A lone caveman sits close to the fire, feeling its heat soak into tired hands and feet, listening to the familiar sounds of the night. Somewhere far away, an animal calls once, then falls silent again. The sound is not a warning, only a reminder that the world continues to breathe. As the fire steadies, there is a gentle pause, a moment meant for stillness. If you wish, you can quietly show your support for this shared firelit moment by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or leaving a soft comment about where you are listening from, whether it's the US, Europe, or another corner of the world, and what time the night has reached for you. It feels natural, like carving a small mark in stone to say, I was here too. Now let the body ease. Lower the lights around you. Let your shoulders soften and your breath slow, in and out, steady as the fire. Imagine yourself safe inside this stone shelter, wrapped in warmth, listening to the old rhythms of the earth. The cold stays outside. Inside, there is time. Inside, there is rest. The caveman leans closer to the fire, feeling the promise of sleep already beginning. As the Ice Age night settles into its long, patient watch. The day begins before the sun fully rises, when the cave is still wrapped in deep blue shadow. Cold clings to the stone floor, creeping up from the earth, but the memory of last night's fire still lingers in the air. The caveman stirs slowly, breathing in the scent of ash and smoke, a smell that means safety, warmth, and another day survived. He adds dry twigs to the fire, carefully, patiently. Sparks lift and fade as the flames return, casting moving shapes along the cave walls. Stone tools lie where they were placed the night before, simple, familiar, shaped by steady hands over many quiet hours. A thick animal hide rests nearby, stiff with frost along its edges, but heavy enough to hold warmth close to the body. Outside the cave, the land waits. Snow covers the ground in soft waves, marked by faint tracks left by animals passing in the night. The air is sharp and clean, filling the lungs with cold that wakes the mind without rushing it. Each breath feels deliberate. Each movement is unhurried. The caveman wraps the hide around his shoulders, feeling its weight press comfortingly down. He knows the rhythm of this place, the balance between cold and fire, effort and rest. There is no need to hurry. The sun will rise when it rises. Food will come when patience allows it. For now, he sits close to the fire, watching the flames dance slowly, listening to the quiet world beyond the cave mouth. The warmth seeps deeper, easing stiff muscles, inviting calm. The fire settles into a steady glow, and the morning remains gentle and still. As the sun finally lifts itself above the frozen horizon, its pale light slips carefully into the cave, touching the stone floor without warmth. The caveman rises slowly, joints stiff but familiar with the cold. There is no resistance in the movement, only acceptance, the way the body has learned to move with the world rather than against it. He steps outside for a moment, boots of wrapped hide pressing into snow that softly compresses beneath his weight. Each footprint is deliberate. The land feels endless and quiet, a wide white breath stretching in every direction. His eyes scan the ground without urgency, noticing broken twigs, shallow prints, the subtle signs left behind by animals moving through the night. The wind brushes past him, gentle but persistent, tugging at his hair and the edges of his fur cloak. He turns his face slightly away, not in fear, but in calm understanding. The cold is part of life here. It sharpens the senses, keeps the body awake, reminds him to return to warmth when the time is right. Back inside the cave, he tends the fire once more, feeding it carefully. He places stones near the flames, knowing they will hold heat long after the fire settles down. This is knowledge passed not by words, but by watching, repeating, remembering. The stones begin to glow softly, radiating comfort into the space. He sits again, resting, listening to the quiet pop of burning wood. There will be hunting later, walking across plains, waiting patiently. But now is for stillness. The body warms. The breath slows. Outside, the wind continues its long journey, while inside, the fire hums low and steady. The light grows softer, and the caveman allows his eyes to close for a moment, feeling safe within stone walls and ancient routines, as warmth spreads gently through the cave. Time moves quietly, almost unnoticed, as the morning stretches into something softer and slower. The fire has settled into a calm bed of embers, glowing red and orange like small captured suns. The caveman opens his eyes again, feeling rested, as though the brief pause has carried him gently forward. He reaches for a flat stone bowl and places it near the fire, warming what little food remains from the day before. The smell is faint, simple, and grounding. Eating is unhurried. Each bite is small, deliberate, taken with awareness rather than hunger alone. Food is warmth, strength, and patience combined. Outside, the snow reflects the growing light, bright but quiet. The sky is wide and pale, clouds drifting slowly like thoughts with nowhere to go. The caveman watches for a while, then begins preparing for the day ahead. He checks the bindings on his spear, tightening sinew with steady fingers. Stone meets stone as he sharpens a blade, the sound soft and rhythmic, almost like breathing. Every tool has its place, every motion has been practiced across many seasons. There is comfort in repetition, in knowing what comes next without needing to rush toward it. The world beyond the cave will ask for effort later, but it does not demand it now. As the fire continues to fade, he gathers the warmed stones and places them carefully into a shallow pit lined with hide. These stones will hold heat through the night, a quiet promise of sleep without shivering. He smooths the ground nearby, preparing a resting place, thoughtful and calm. The cave grows dimmer as the embers settle, the air thick with gentle warmth. The caveman sits back, listening to the soft silence, letting the steady rhythm of the day carry him forward, untroubled and at ease. The day drifts onward, slow and unannounced, as clouds slide across the pale sky outside the cave. The caveman steps beyond the stone shelter again, this time carrying only what is needed, his spear, a small pouch of dried food, and the calm awareness of the land around him. The cold greets him like an old companion, brushing against his skin without surprise. He walks carefully across the snow-covered ground, following a familiar path along the edge of the forest. Trees stand tall and silent, their bare branches etched against the sky. Beneath them, the earth is darker, softer, marked by subtle signs of life. He pauses often, not to search aggressively, but to listen, to the wind moving through branches, to the faint crunch of distant steps, to the quiet breathing of the world itself. Each footprint he leaves behind fills slowly with drifting snow, as if time is already smoothing away his passage. This does not trouble him. He belongs to this place, and it belongs to him without needing proof. After a while, he stops near a cluster of rocks that block the wind. Here he rests. He sits on the ground, spear across his knees, and waits. Waiting is not empty. It is full of awareness, full of calm attention. The body stays warm through small movements, steady breaths, the memory of the fire waiting back in the cave. No animal appears, and that is acceptable. Not every walk must end in success. Some days are meant only for movement and thought. As the light begins to soften again, he rises and turns back, retracing his path slowly, unburdened by disappointment. When the cave comes into view, its dark opening feels welcoming. Inside, the warmth held in stone still lingers faintly. He adds fresh wood to the fire, and flame returns once more, brightening the walls with familiar shadows. As evening approaches, the fire crackles gently, and the world outside grows quiet again. The caveman settles close to the warmth, letting the day release its hold as calm spreads through the cave like a slow, steady breath. Evening settles without sound, like a soft blanket drawn across the land. The sky outside the cave deepens from pale grey to muted blue, and the first stars begin to appear, steady and unhurried. The caveman sits near the fire, watching its light grow stronger as darkness gathers beyond the stone walls. He feeds the flames carefully, choosing thicker pieces of wood now, ones that will burn slowly through the night. Each log is placed with intention, never rushed. Sparks lift and fade into the air, and the fire answers with a low, steady warmth that presses back against the cold. From a small bundle, he pulls another hide, this one worn smooth by years of use. He spreads it across the sleeping place he prepared earlier, layering warmth upon warmth. The stones beneath the hide still hold heat from the day, releasing it slowly, patiently, just as they were meant to do. Outside, the wind moves across the plain, whispering through dry grass and snow. Inside, the cave feels sealed from it all. The stone walls stand firm, holding silence and shelter. The caveman listens, not with alertness, but with familiarity. These sounds have always been here. They are part of the night's song. He eats again, sparingly, saving what remains for another day. Hunger is quiet tonight, kept at bay by warmth and rest. Afterward, he stretches slowly, easing his muscles, letting fatigue settle in gently, rather than all at once. As the fire lowers to a steady glow, he wraps himself in the hide and lies down, facing the flames. Shadows ripple across the ceiling of the cave, slow and hypnotic. His breathing evens out, matching the fire's rhythm, deep and calm. The stars continue their silent watch outside, while inside, warmth and stone cradle him. Sleep approaches without urgency, arriving like a familiar friend. The night deepens, thick and quiet, pressing gently against the cave. The fire has softened into glowing embers, their light pulsing slowly, like a steady heartbeat. The caveman lies still, wrapped in layered hides, feeling warmth gather and remain, held close by stone and earth. From time to time, a faint sound drifts in from outside, a distant wind, the soft call of an animal far across the plain. None of it breaks the calm. These sounds are familiar, part of the rhythm that carries the night forward. The cave remains a place of safety, its walls strong and unchanging. The warmed stones beneath him release their stored heat little by little. It rises through the hides, easing into tired muscles and bones. His hands, once stiff from cold, now rest comfortably against his chest. His breath slows, deepening, moving in long, even waves. In the half-light, the tools near the fire lie quiet. Stone blade, spear, small fragments of bone shaped long ago. They wait without demand, ready for another day. There is no need to think of them now. The night is for rest, not planning. The fire shifts slightly, a small collapse of embers, sending a brief shimmer of light across the cave ceiling. Then it settles again, lower and softer. The air smells faintly of smoke and earth, grounding and familiar. Outside, the stars turn slowly overhead, unseen but constant. Inside, the caveman drifts closer to sleep, thoughts loosening their grip, body sinking deeper into warmth and stillness. The embers glow one last time, then dim further as sleep wraps around him fully, steady and undisturbed. Deep night holds the land in a quiet embrace. Time no longer moves in clear lines but drifts slowly, like smoke rising and fading in the dark. The caveman sleeps without dreams, his body fully at rest, trusting the cave, the fire, and the habits learned across many winters. The embers give off only a faint red glow now, just enough to soften the darkness. Shadows barely move. The cave breathes gently, cool air slipping in and warm air settling low, creating a balance that keeps the cold away. The hides rise and fall with each slow breath, steady and calm. Outside, frost forms silently on stone and snow. The wind travels far across the plains, touching trees, hills, and frozen rivers before moving on again. It reaches the cave mouth but does not enter fully, turned aside by the shape of the rock and the quiet strength of the shelter. At some point in the night, the caveman shifts slightly, instinctively pulling the hide closer. A hand finds the warmth of a stone beneath, still holding heat from earlier. The body relaxes again at once, reassured, sinking deeper into rest. Nothing demands attention. There is no alarm, no fear, no sudden sound. The ancient world knows this hour well. It is the hour of deepest sleep, when even the land seems to pause and listen. The embers dim further, nearly blending into the dark. Breathing remains slow and even. Wrapped in warmth and stone, the caveman sleeps on, undisturbed, as the long Ice Age night continues its silent watch. Before the first hint of morning, the world remains wrapped in stillness. The sky beyond the cave is dark and heavy, stars slowly fading as the night begins to loosen its hold. Inside, the caveman stirs gently, not fully awake, but aware in the quiet way that comes just before dawn. The embers have cooled into ash, pale and soft, holding only the memory of warmth. Yet the stones beneath the hides still release a faint heat, enough to keep the cold from reaching too deeply. The cave feels calm, protected, as if it remembers every night that has passed within its walls. The caveman opens his eyes briefly, gazing toward the cave opening where darkness thins into deep blue. He does not rise yet. There is no hurry. Dawn will arrive slowly, just as it always does. He listens to his own breathing, steady and familiar, and to the silence between sounds. A small movement, perhaps a distant animal stepping through snow, reaches his ears and then fades. The sound carries no meaning beyond presence. Life continues quietly outside, just as it continues here. He closes his eyes again, letting the last moments of sleep return. Muscles remain heavy, relaxed. Thoughts do not form. The body rests in the space between night and day, a place of deep calm. As the cave holds its silence and the world prepares for light, the caveman remains still, wrapped in warmth and patience, resting until morning is ready. The first light of dawn arrives gently, barely noticeable at first. It slips into the cave as a thin, pale glow, touching the rough stone walls and slowly revealing their familiar shapes. The cold of the morning lingers, but it feels softer now, less demanding than the night before. The caveman wakes fully, unhurried. He remains lying still for a moment, letting his body understand the new day. His breath is calm, his limbs warm beneath the layered hides. The quiet is complete, broken only by the faint sound of wind moving far away across the frozen land. He sits up slowly and reaches toward the fire pit, brushing ash aside with a careful hand. Beneath it, a single ember still glows faintly. He smiles without knowing the word for it, and gently feeds the ember with dry grass and thin twigs. The fire answers softly, returning to life with a low crackle and a spreading warmth. Light grows stronger outside, revealing fresh snow and untouched ground. The day feels new, clean, unmarked. He drinks a little melted snow, warmed near the fire, the water cool and refreshing, grounding him in the moment. As the flames settle into a steady burn, he warms his hands and feet, feeling strength return. Another day begins not with urgency, but with balance. Warmth is secured, shelter stands firm, the world waits patiently. He sits quietly beside the fire, watching the light move slowly across the cave floor, letting the rhythm of the morning carry him forward. Morning stretches wide and calm across the land. Outside the cave, the sky has turned a soft, pale grey, and the frozen earth reflects the quiet light without glare. The caveman steps out slowly, feeling the firm ground beneath his feet, noticing how the cold has eased just slightly with the rising sun. He moves along the edge of the cave, gathering fallen branches and dry grass left untouched by the night frost. Each piece is chosen carefully, not out of need, but out of habit and care. Fuel means warmth later, and warmth means rest. Everything connects, simple and steady. Near the forest line, he pauses. The snow here is disturbed by faint tracks, small animals moving in the early hours. He studies them without excitement, simply observing. Knowledge grows this way, quietly, stored in memory rather than words. With his bundle of wood secured, he returns to the cave. The fire welcomes the new fuel, flames lifting slightly higher, light dancing across stone. He arranges the wood so it will burn slowly through the day, a gentle companion rather than a demanding presence. He sits again, mending a small tear in one of the hides with sinew and bone needle. The motion is repetitive and calming. Hands move, thoughts remain still. Time passes unnoticed. As the morning continues, warmth builds in the cave, balancing the cold outside. The caveman leans back against the stone wall, eyes half closed, listening to the quiet pop of the fire, feeling the comfort of routine settle in once more. As the morning gently unfolds, the light outside grows steadier, no longer changing quickly, just resting across the snow and stone. Inside the cave, the warmth has settled into a calm balance, neither hot nor cold, but just enough to soften the body and quiet the mind. The caveman rises and stretches slowly, feeling the stone floor cool beneath his feet. He walks to the cave entrance and looks out across the plain. The air carries a faint scent of ice and distant water, clean and sharp, filling his lungs with clarity. He stands there for a while, unmoving, letting the land show itself without asking anything in return. A few birds pass overhead, dark shapes against the pale sky, their wings moving steadily. He follows them with his eyes until they disappear. There is comfort in knowing the world continues in small, predictable ways. Returning inside, he places a few stones closer to the fire, preparing them to store heat again. He knows the cold will return later, as it always does. Preparation is quiet reassurance, not worry. He sits nearby, rubbing his hands together, letting warmth soak in slowly. The fire crackles softly, sending gentle waves of light across the cave walls. Shadows move lazily, unhurried. The caveman lowers himself onto a hide and rests, Not sleeping, just being still. Breath in, breath out. The body remembers how to be calm. Time drifts forward without notice. Outside, the day remains peaceful. Inside, the cave holds warmth and silence, wrapping both around him like a familiar shelter. The sun begins its slow journey downward, though the change is so subtle it feels more like a thought than a movement. The light outside softens again, stretching long shadows across the snow. Inside the cave, the air remains warm, steady, protected by stone and fire. The caveman prepares to walk once more, not for hunting this time, but simply to move with the day. He wraps a hide around his shoulders and steps outside, letting the cold touch his skin briefly, awakening his senses without urgency. He walks along the frozen river nearby, its surface smooth and silent, ice holding still beneath the pale sky. His footsteps echo softly, then fade. He pauses to watch the slow drift of frost along the river's edge, noticing patterns formed by wind and water long ago. Kneeling near a cluster of stones, he gathers bits of dried plant fiber and bark, small materials useful for fire starting later. Each piece is tucked carefully away. Nothing is taken without reason, and nothing is wasted. After some time, he turns back, following his own tracks until the cave appears once more. The sight of it brings quiet reassurance. Inside, the fire still burns low and steady, just as he left it. He adds a few pieces of wood, then sits, letting the warmth wrap around him again. Outside, the light continues to fade. Inside, calm deepens, preparing the space for another long, peaceful night. Late afternoon settles gently over the land, smoothing the sharp edges of light and shadow. The sky turns a muted silver, and the air grows still, as if the world itself is slowing its breath. Inside the cave, the fire hums softly, a quiet center of warmth and familiarity. The caveman sits near the entrance, shaping a small piece of bone with a stone tool. Each scrape is light, controlled, and patient. Fine shavings fall to the ground, pale against the darker stone. The sound is soft and rhythmic, blending with the low crackle of the fire. This work is not urgent. It is meant to fill the hours, to prepare for future needs without strain. His hands know the shape they are creating. The bone grows smooth, comfortable to hold, shaped by repetition rather than force. As the light outside fades further, he pauses and looks out once more. The plain lies quiet, untouched. No movement breaks the stillness. The cold deepens, but inside the cave, the stones warmed earlier begin to release their stored heat again, subtle and steady. He places the finished tool with the others, arranging them neatly. Order brings calm. Familiarity brings rest. He adds another log to the fire, watching the flame rise briefly before settling back down. As dusk approaches, the cave grows dim, lit mostly by firelight now. Shadows lengthen and soften. The caveman wraps himself in a hide and sits back against the wall, breathing slowly, feeling the day gently release its hold. Dusk deepens into evening, and the sky outside darkens to a deep, quiet blue. The first stars return, steady and distant, just as they were the night before. The cold strengthens its presence, sliding gently across the land, but inside the cave, warmth holds firm. The caveman stands and moves slowly, making final preparations for the night. He places thicker logs onto the fire, choosing ones that will burn long and slow. The flames respond with a soft crackle, then settle into a steady glow, filling the cave with comfort. He gathers the warmed stones again, arranging them beneath the sleeping place, spacing them carefully so the heat will last through the deepest part of the night. Over them, he spreads layers of hide, smoothing each one with deliberate care. This is a ritual learned over many winters, refined by patience. Outside, the wind whispers faintly, brushing the cave entrance before moving on. Inside, the firelight paints gentle patterns on the stone walls, shapes that move slowly, almost hypnotically. He eats a final small portion of food, then drinks a little warmed water. His body feels ready now, heavy with calm fatigue. There is no tension left from the day, only the quiet satisfaction of preparation, complete. As night settles fully, he lies down near the fire, facing its gentle light. The flames lower, the air warms, and the cave grows quiet once more, holding him safely as sleep begins to arrive. Night settles completely, thick and reassuring, pressing softly against the cave walls. The fire has found its steady rhythm now, no longer lively, just constant and warm. Its light pools gently on the ground, leaving the corners of the cave in a calm, shadowed hush. The caveman lies still, wrapped in hides that carry the faint scent of smoke and earth. Beneath him, the stones release their warmth in slow breaths, rising through layers of fur and skin. His body responds without thought. Muscles loosen, shoulders sink, and the cold becomes a distant idea rather than a presence. He listens for a while, not searching for sound, simply allowing it to come and go. The fire murmurs softly. Somewhere far beyond the cave, the wind moves across frozen ground, too distant to disturb the peace here. The stone shelter stands firm, as it has through many nights like this one. A small shift of embers sends a gentle flicker across the ceiling, then the light steadies again. His breathing deepens, slow and even, matching the quiet pulse of the fire. Hands rest easily at his sides, fingers relaxed, no longer holding tools or tension. Thoughts drift without shape, like clouds passing across the night sky. There is no need to follow them. The body knows this moment well. The moment when warmth, safety, and darkness come together. As the fire continues its low glow and the cave remains still, sleep settles fully, wrapping him in a deep, unbroken rest. The deepest part of the night arrives without announcement. Darkness feels heavier now, softer too, like a thick blanket laid over the land. Inside the cave, the fire has reduced to glowing coals, steady and quiet, their warmth lingering just enough. The caveman sleeps soundly, his body fully surrendered to rest. Each breath moves slowly, rising and falling in a calm, familiar rhythm. The hides shift gently with the motion, keeping warmth close, sealing out the cold that waits beyond stone walls. The cave itself seems to rest. No wind enters. No sound disturbs the stillness. Even the shadows have stopped moving, held in place by the low, constant glow of the coals. Outside, frost deepens, settling on rocks and snow, shaping the land in silence. Time passes, but it does not feel counted. It drifts, unmeasured, like the slow turning of stars overhead. At some point, the caveman shifts slightly, his body responding to comfort rather than cold. A hand finds the smooth surface of a warm stone beneath the hides, and his breathing softens further, as if reassured. The coals dim a little more, their light fading to a gentle red. Inside the cave, warmth remains, balanced and calm. Sleep holds him completely now, deep and undisturbed, as the long Ice Age night continues. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the night begins to loosen its grip. There is no sudden change, only a subtle thinning of darkness, a quiet shift in the air. Inside the caveman remains asleep, carried gently by the last hours of deep rest. The coals have cooled further now, glowing only faintly beneath a layer of pale ash. Yet the warmth they gave earlier still lingers, held within the stones and hides, stored carefully like memory. The cave feels balanced, neither cold nor warm, just calm. His breathing continues in long, even waves. Each breath seems to echo softly against the stone walls, then fade. Muscles remain loose, heavy with comfort. There is no dream, no thought, only rest, complete and unbroken. Outside, far beyond the cave mouth, the sky begins to change. Stars dim one by one, surrendering their place to the coming light. The frozen land remains still, untouched, waiting patiently for morning. A faint breeze passes near the cave entrance, gentle enough not to disturb the air inside. It carries the quiet scent of ice and earth, then moves on. The shelter holds firm, doing what it has always done, protecting, enclosing, calming. The caveman shifts once more, settling deeper into the hides, as if instinctively preparing for waking. But sleep still holds him, kind and steady, allowing the night to finish its slow work. The darkness softens further, and the cave remains peaceful, suspended in this gentle moment between night and day. The first true hint of morning arrives as a quiet light, pale and cool, touching the edge of the cave entrance. It does not rush in. It waits, respectful of the long night that has just passed. Inside, the caveman stirs slightly, still wrapped in sleep, but aware in a distant, gentle way. The ash-covered coals rest quietly now, their warmth almost gone, yet the stones beneath the sleeping place continue to hold a soft trace of heat. The cave feels calm and settled, as if it remembers the careful preparations made the night before. He opens his eyes, slowly blinking once or twice as the dim light finds its way in. For a moment, he stays still, listening. The world is quiet, but not empty. There is the faint sound of wind far away, the distant crack of ice shifting along the river, the soft breath of the land waking. He sits up, pulling the hide closer around his shoulders. The air is cool, refreshing, and familiar. There is no discomfort, only the gentle awareness that a new day has arrived. Reaching toward the fire pit, he brushes aside ash, searching for a remaining ember. Finding none, he gathers dry fibers and bark, arranging them carefully. With practiced patience, he strikes stone against stone, sending small sparks downward until a thin thread of smoke rises. Soon, a small flame appears, quiet but alive. The fire returns, bringing warmth and light back into the cave. The caveman watches it grow, feeling the day begin without urgency. As calm settles once more, morning settles gently into the world, spreading its pale light across snow, stone, and frozen earth. The cave brightens slowly as the fire gains strength, its warm glow blending with the cool daylight. Inside, the air feels fresh and balanced, carrying both warmth and the clean scent of morning. The caveman warms his hands near the fire, fingers relaxed, movements unhurried. He drinks from a stone cup, water warmed just enough to take away the chill. Each swallow is steady, grounding, a simple comfort at the start of the day. He steps to the cave entrance and looks out across the land. The plain lies quiet and untouched, shimmering faintly beneath the rising sun. His breath appears in soft clouds, then fades. He takes in the scene without judgment, without plan, simply observing. Returning inside, he gathers a few tools and checks them carefully. The stone blade is smooth and sharp. The spear's bindings are tight. Everything is ready, even if there is no need to leave today. Readiness brings peace. He places more stones near the fire, preparing them to store warmth again. The cycle continues. Fire to stone, stone to sleep, sleep to morning. This rhythm has carried him through many cold seasons. As the morning light steadies and the fire settles into a low, steady burn, he sits near the warmth, breathing slowly, letting the calm of the day wrap around him like a familiar cloak. The day unfolds quietly, without urgency or demand. Outside the cave, the sun hangs low and pale, offering light but little warmth. Inside, the fire remains the heart of comfort, its steady presence shaping the slow rhythm of the hours. The caveman spends time near the back of the cave, sorting through simple belongings. He adjusts a pile of hides, shakes out loose snow and dust, and folds them neatly. The motion is repetitive, calming, grounding him further in the present moment. He kneels near a small collection of bones and stones, choosing one to work with. With gentle pressure, he smooths its surface, shaping it into a tool meant for scraping hides. The sound is soft, almost meditative, stone brushing bone again and again. Between movements he pauses often, resting, listening to the fire, feeling warmth move through his body. There is no rush to finish anything. The work exists only to fill time and prepare for what may come later. Outside, clouds drift slowly across the sky. Their shadows slide over the snow, then pass on. The world continues its quiet motion, unconcerned with speed. As the afternoon light begins to soften once more, the caveman sets his tools aside and sits near the fire. He leans back against the stone wall, eyes half closed, breath deep and even, letting the calm of the day settle fully. The afternoon drifts toward evening, almost unnoticed. Light outside the cave grows softer, cooler, spreading long shadows across the snow. Inside, the fire continues its steady burn, quietly marking the passage of time. The caveman rises and steps outside once more, this time only a short distance. He moves slowly, stretching his legs, feeling the firm ground beneath his feet. The air is still, carrying the faint scent of ice and distant water. He inhales deeply, then exhales, watching his breath dissolve into the cold. He gathers a few fallen branches along the cave's edge, their surfaces dry and pale. Each one is placed carefully under his arm. He does not take more than needed. Balance matters here, even in simple things. Back inside, he feeds the fire again, arranging the wood so it will burn through the coming night. Flames lift briefly, then settle. The warmth deepens, filling the cave and pressing gently against the cold stone. He sets stones closer to the fire, already thinking ahead without effort. Preparation has become instinct, a quiet act repeated so many times it no longer feels like planning. As evening approaches, he sits down and eats a small portion of food, slowly, thoughtfully. Hunger is present but calm, easily managed. The body feels steady, strong enough, content. When the light outside fades further, he wraps himself in a hide and rests near the fire, letting the slow arrival of night bring stillness once again. Evening settles into the land like a long, gentle breath. The sky darkens to deep blue, and the first stars appear once more, steady and patient. The cold returns quietly, spreading across the plain without urgency. Inside the cave, warmth remains strong. The fire glows softly, its light reflecting off stone walls worn smooth by time. Shadows stretch and move lazily, never sharp, never sudden. The caveman prepares his sleeping place again, just as he has many nights before. He arranges the warmed stones beneath the hides, spacing them carefully so the heat will last through the deepest part of the night. Each movement is slow, practiced, and reassuring. He pauses to sit near the fire, hands extended toward the warmth. His fingers relax, no longer stiff from cold. The fire answers with a soft crackle, steady and calm. Outside, a distant animal call echoes briefly, then fades. It carries no threat, only the sound of life moving through the darkness. The caveman listens, then returns his focus to the fire, to the safety of stone and warmth. As night deepens, he lies down, pulling the hides close. The cave feels sealed and secure. The fire lowers into a gentle glow and the world beyond the stone walls grows quiet once more. The night deepens again, slow and unbroken, as if time itself has softened. The fire has settled into glowing embers, their light faint but steady, casting a gentle warmth across the cave floor. The caveman lies still, wrapped in hides, his body already relaxed and heavy with rest. The air inside the cave feels calm and balanced. Warmth stays close to the ground, while cooler air drifts higher, creating a quiet comfort that needs no adjustment. The stone walls hold steady, protecting against the cold and wind outside. His breathing grows slower, deeper, each breath moving without effort. Muscles release the last tension from the day, sinking into the familiar shape of rest. Hands rest loosely, fingers slightly curled, no longer gripping tools or hides. Outside, frost forms silently, shaping the land in the darkness. The wind moves across the plains and forests, distant and softened by space. None of it reaches inside the cave with strength enough to disturb the peace. A small shift of embers sends a faint shimmer of light across the ceiling, then fades. The fire continues its quiet work, giving warmth without demand. Sleep settles fully now, deep and steady, carrying the caveman through the heart of the Ice Age night, safe and undisturbed. The hours pass in a gentle blur, as if the night itself is breathing slowly. Inside the cave, the glow of the embers fades and brightens in small, quiet pulses. Warmth remains, subtle but faithful, held by stone and hide like a promise kept. The caveman sleeps on, undisturbed. His body rests deeply now, heavier than before, sinking into the layers beneath him. Each breath moves with ease, long and unbroken, the chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm that mirrors the calm of the cave. A faint sound drifts in from outside, the distant shift of ice along the river, a low, hollow crack that echoes once and disappears. It does not reach him. The cave softens every sound, rounding its edges until nothing sharp remains. The air inside stays still. Smoke from earlier has long since settled, leaving behind a faint scent of ash and warmth. The darkness feels thick but safe, familiar rather than empty. At some point, the caveman turns slightly in his sleep, drawing a hide closer around his shoulders. A knee bends, a foot finds a warmer place near a stone that still holds the last of the day's heat. The body adjusts, then becomes still again. The embers dim further, nearly blending into the dark. Outside, the night continues its slow watch. Inside, rest remains deep and unbroken, holding steady until morning is ready to return. Far into the night, when even the stars seem to pause in their slow turning, the cave remains wrapped in a deep, settled quiet. Darkness fills every corner, softened by the faintest glow of cooling embers. The fire no longer speaks, yet its presence lingers in the gentle warmth held by stone and earth. The caveman sleeps without movement now, his body fully surrendered to rest. The hides lie heavy and comforting, their weight grounding him, keeping warmth close. His breathing is slow and deep, steady as the land itself, each breath flowing easily into the next. Outside, the cold tightens its grip on the frozen plains. Snow crystals form and reform in silence. The wind passes over distant hills, brushing treetops and empty spaces, never lingering long enough to disturb the stillness. Inside the cave, time feels suspended. There is no sense of waiting, no sense of passing. Only this calm moment stretching on. The stone walls seem to hold the night gently, keeping the cold and the vastness of the world at a respectful distance. A final ember settles into ash, releasing its last warmth quietly. The cave remains peaceful, balanced and secure, The caveman rests on, undisturbed, wrapped in warmth and darkness, carried gently by the long ice age night. The night slowly begins to loosen, though the darkness still feels deep and full. Inside the cave, the air remains calm and still, holding the quiet warmth, saved carefully from the fire. The caveman continues to sleep, resting in a state so deep it feels timeless. There are no dreams to stir him, no sounds to pull him back toward waking. His body rests in perfect balance, muscles relaxed, breath moving softly in long, even waves. The hides around him rise and fall gently, echoing his calm breathing. Outside, far beyond the cave entrance, the sky begins to change in subtle ways. The stars lose some of their brightness, and the horizon grows just a shade lighter, though the land below remains frozen and quiet. A faint breeze passes the cave mouth, barely touching the air inside. It carries the clean scent of ice and distant water, then moves on. The cave remains untouched, holding its warmth and silence close. The stones beneath the sleeping place cool further, but slowly, never allowing the cold to rush in. The balance remains, stone, hide, and earth working together as they have through countless nights. As the long night eases toward morning, the caveman sleeps on, protected and warm, resting deeply in the quiet strength of the cave. A gentle stillness fills the space just before dawn, a moment that feels suspended between worlds. Inside the cave, the darkness softens, no longer heavy, no longer pressing. The caveman remains asleep, cradled by the last warmth of the night and the steady presence of stone. The air feels cool and clean now, refreshing rather than cold. His breathing remains slow and even, each breath deep and unforced. The hides rest lightly over him, shaped to his body after many nights of use, holding comfort without weight. Outside, the land begins to shift in quiet ways. Ice settles and tightens along the river's edge. Snow glimmers faintly as the sky lightens just enough to be felt, not yet seen. No sounds intrude, only the deep, ancient quiet of a world waking slowly. Inside the cave, shadows remain still. The fire pit is cold now, ash pale and smooth, yet the memory of warmth lingers in the stones and ground. The cave has done its work well, keeping the night gentle and safe. The caveman turns slightly in his sleep, settling into a final, deeper rest before morning fully arrives. His body remains calm, balanced, untroubled. There is no rush to wake. Dawn will wait. The quiet holds steady, wrapping the cave in peace, as sleep continues to rest gently upon him. Morning arrives at last, not with sound, but with a slow thinning of darkness. A cool, pale light gathers at the mouth of the cave, resting there quietly before drifting inward. Inside, the caveman still sleeps, held gently in the final moments of night's embrace. The air has changed. It feels lighter now, clearer, carrying the promise of a new day without urgency. The stone floor is cool, but not harsh. The hides retain their warmth, and beneath them, the earth feels steady and reliable. His breathing begins to shift, growing just slightly shallower as the body prepares to wake. Fingers twitch once, then relax again. There is no sudden movement, only the slow, natural return toward awareness. Outside, the frozen land reflects the first hints of daylight. Snow glows faintly and the sky turns from deep blue to soft grey. Somewhere far away, a bird calls once, then falls silent, as if respecting the quiet. Inside the caveman opens his eyes briefly. He does not rise yet. He listens. He feels. He allows the warmth, the shelter, and the stillness to linger a little longer. Then he closes his eyes again, resting just a moment more, as the cave holds him in peace and the day waits patiently beyond the stone. The light grows steadier, filling the cave with a calm silver glow that softens every edge. Morning does not rush him. It simply arrives and waits. The caveman remains lying still, feeling the gentle difference in the air, the quiet shift from night to day. He takes a slow breath, deeper than before, and lets it go. Warmth still lingers around his body, held carefully by hides and stone. The cold beyond the cave feels distant now, kept outside by the strength of earth and habit. With a small movement, he rolls onto his side and rests his hand against the ground. The stone beneath his palm is cool, steady, familiar. This touch anchors him fully in the present moment. He sits up slowly, allowing his body to wake at its own pace. The fire pit lies quiet, ash, pale and smooth, untouched since the night before. He looks at it calmly, already knowing what to do next. There is comfort in that knowing, no thought required, no urgency felt. He pulls the hides from his shoulders and stands, stretching gently, arms lifting, spine easing into the day. Muscles respond without complaint. The body feels rested, prepared, and warm enough to begin again. At the cave entrance, the morning waits in silence. Pale light, frozen ground, endless space. He stands there for a moment, breathing slowly, feeling the quiet strength of another day beginning. Inside, the cave remains calm and still, holding the last softness of sleep as the fire waits to be reborn. He returns to the heart of the cave and kneels beside the fire pit, moving with the calm certainty of long practice. Ash shifts softly under his fingers as he searches for what remains. Finding only cool powder, he gathers dry fibers, thin bark, and a few carefully chosen twigs, arranging them into a small, patient nest. Stone meets stone. The sound is gentle, rhythmic. A spark appears, then another, and a thin ribbon of smoke curls upward. He breathes slowly, unhurried, shielding the tiny glow with his hands until a flame forms, small at first, then steady. The fire wakes without struggle, and warmth returns like a familiar presence. He feeds it carefully, adding wood little by little, listening as it settles into a low, steady burn. Light fills the cave again, warming stone, easing the last traces of night from the air. He places a few stones near the flames, knowing they will hold this warmth for later, just as they always do. Outside, the morning brightens. Inside, the cave feels alive again, safe, balanced, and calm. He warms his hands, feeling the quiet strength return to his fingers. There is no rush to leave. The day can wait a little longer. He sits beside the fire, back against the stone wall, eyes half closed, breathing slow, and even as warmth spreads gently through the space. The cave holds him, the fire hums softly, and time moves at its own peaceful pace. The fire settles into a comfortable rhythm, its flames low and steady, sending soft waves of warmth across the cave floor. The caveman remains seated, letting the heat reach deeper into his muscles, easing any stiffness left from the long night. Outside, the day grows brighter, but the light remains gentle, filtered through thin clouds. The frozen land reflects it quietly, without glare. From the cave entrance, a faint breeze carries fresh air inside, mixing with the scent of smoke and stone. He rises slowly and moves about the cave, checking each corner with familiar eyes. Nothing has changed. Tools rest where they were placed. Hides hang undisturbed. The space feels complete, as it should. He gathers a small bundle of dried meat and places it near the fire to warm slightly. As it heats, he sits again, waiting. Waiting has never been empty for him. It is simply another way of being present. When he eats, he does so slowly, savoring warmth and nourishment together. Each bite is small, each movement deliberate. The body responds with quiet strength, ready, but not hurried. Afterward, he stretches gently, then settles back near the fire. The stones beside it begin to absorb heat once more, preparing silently for the coming night. The cycle continues unbroken. The cave remains calm, the fire steady, and the day unfolds without demand. He breathes deeply, resting in the balance of warmth and stillness. The day moves forward almost unnoticed, marked only by the slow shifting of light at the cave entrance. Outside, the frozen plains remain quiet, the sky pale and calm. Inside, the fire continues its gentle work, filling the cave with steady warmth. The caveman spends time repairing a simple tool, tightening its bindings with sinew softened by the heat. His fingers move carefully, confidently, guided by memory rather than thought. The task is familiar, soothing, requiring no haste. When the work is finished, he places the tool back among the others, satisfied. Order brings peace. He sits near the fire again, listening to the soft crackle of wood and the occasional shift of stone as heat spreads. He watches the flames for a while, letting their slow movement quiet his thoughts. Shadows ripple across the cave walls, smooth and unhurried, like water flowing over stone. Outside, clouds drift across the sky, dimming the light slightly, then passing on. Inside, nothing changes. The cave holds its calm, sheltering him from both cold and distraction. As the afternoon light begins to soften once more, he leans back against the wall, eyes closing briefly. Not sleep yet, just rest, deep and easy, as the fire and stone keep watch. Afternoon drifts toward evening again, as gently as before. The light outside the cave takes on a softer tone, long shadows stretching slowly across the snow. Inside, the warmth remains steady, held close by stone and fire. The caveman stands and steps outside for a short walk, moving along a familiar path near the cave. His footsteps are slow and quiet, leaving shallow impressions in the snow that will soon fade. The air is crisp but calm, filling his lungs with clarity. He pauses near a cluster of rocks, resting his hand against their cold surface. The contrast between cold stone and his warmed skin feels grounding. He looks out across the plain, observing without searching, simply being present. After a while, he turns back, returning to the cave with unhurried steps. The sight of the fire waiting inside brings a sense of ease. He adds a few pieces of wood, watching the flames respond briefly before settling again. As evening approaches, he prepares the cave for night once more. Stones are moved closer to the fire, hides adjusted, everything placed just so. The work is quiet, steady, and reassuring. When he finishes, he sits near the fire, letting the last light of day fade outside. Inside, warmth and calm remain, ready to carry him into another peaceful night. Evening gathers slowly, as if the land itself is settling in for rest. The sky outside deepens to a soft indigo, and the last light slips away behind distant hills. Inside the cave, the fire becomes the gentle center of everything, light, warmth, and quiet reassurance. The caveman lowers himself to the ground and begins the familiar ritual of preparing for sleep. He places the warmed stones beneath the resting place, spacing them carefully so the heat will last through the long hours ahead. Over them, he spreads the hides, smoothing each fold with patient hands. The fire crackles softly as thicker wood is added, chosen to burn low and slow. Sparks rise briefly, then disappear. The air fills with a calm, earthy warmth that presses back the cold, waiting beyond the cave walls. He eats a small, final portion of food, slowly, without distraction. Hunger quiets easily tonight. His body feels steady and calm, shaped by routine and rest rather than effort. Outside, a faint wind moves across the snow, whispering and then fading. Inside, the cave feels sealed and safe. Shadows stretch and soften along the stone, moving gently with the fire's low glow. He lies down, drawing the hides close, and turns his face toward the warmth. The fire settles, the stones begin their slow release of heat, and the cave grows quiet once more, ready to hold him through the night. Night returns with the same calm certainty as before, wrapping the land in deep stillness. Inside the cave, the fire has already softened, its flames lowering into a steady, comforting glow. The caveman lies quietly, feeling the familiar weight of hides and the gentle warmth rising from the stones beneath him. The air inside feels balanced, neither too warm nor too cold. Each breath moves slowly, easily, without effort. His chest rises and falls in a steady rhythm, echoing the quiet pulse of the fire. The long day releases its hold completely now. Shadows drift across the cave walls, stretched and blurred by the firelight. They move so slowly they almost seem still. The stone walls stand firm, unchanged, holding the night at a respectful distance. Outside, frost settles again across the frozen plain. The wind travels far away, touching distant hills and forests, never lingering long enough to disturb the silence here. The cave remains untouched, protected by its shape and age. The caveman shifts slightly, finding a place of perfect comfort. A hand rests against a warm stone, reassured by its lingering heat. His muscles loosen further, sinking deeper into rest. The fire dims another small step, embers glowing softly beneath ash. Inside the cave, everything grows quieter, heavier, calmer, as sleep deepens and the night continues its slow, patient watch. The night settles into its deepest calm, a quiet so complete it feels like the world is holding its breath. Inside the cave, the embers glow faintly beneath a veil of ash, offering a soft, steady warmth that lingers without sound. The caveman sleeps deeply now, his body fully at rest, shaped gently by the ground beneath him. Breathing moves in long, even waves. Each inhale arrives slowly, each exhale leaves just as gently. The hides lie still, their edges barely shifting with the rhythm of his breath. Nothing pulls at his awareness, nothing asks to be answered. Outside, the frozen land remains silent. Snow holds its shape. Ice tightens along the riverbanks with a soft, distant creak that fades before it can reach the cave. The stars continue their slow turning overhead, unseen but constant. Inside, the cave feels timeless. Stone walls keep the cold away, holding warmth and darkness in careful balance. The air is cool but kind, resting lightly against skin without chill. A final ember settles and dims, releasing its last trace of heat into the stones. The warmth remains, spread evenly, comforting and reliable. The caveman does not stir. Sleep holds him gently, securely, as the Ice Age night continues to pass in quiet peace. Very slowly the night begins to thin, though darkness still fills the cave like a soft veil. There is no clear moment when this change begins, only a gentle easing, as if the world is preparing itself to breathe again. Inside the caveman remains asleep, resting in the deep stillness he knows so well. The embers have long faded into cool ash, smooth and pale, yet the stones beneath the hides continue to give back the warmth they were asked to hold. It rises quietly, just enough, steady and reliable. The balance remains perfect, stone, hide and earth working together in silence. His body lies heavy with rest, unmoving except for the slow rhythm of breath. Each breath is calm, unbroken, flowing in and out without effort. Muscles stay loose, free of tension, shaped by long habit and trust in the shelter around him. Outside, far beyond the cave mouth, the sky begins to soften. Stars lose their sharpness, fading one by one. The frozen land does not stir. Snow and ice remain still, waiting patiently for the day. Inside the cave, the air feels lighter now, cleaner, carrying the faint scent of stone and cooled ash. The caveman shifts once, barely, settling more deeply into comfort, then becomes still again. The quiet holds. The cave remains peaceful and secure, gently carrying him through the final stretch of night toward another calm morning. The edge of morning approaches so softly it is felt more than seen. A cool, pale presence gathers at the cave entrance, resting there like a held breath. Inside, the caveman sleeps on, wrapped in the last deep layers of night, untouched by hurry or sound. The cave remains still. Stone walls hold the quiet the way they always have, smoothing every distant noise into nothing. The ground beneath him feels steady and kind, neither cold nor warm, simply present. The hides keep their shape, molded by many nights, offering comfort without weight. His breathing changes just slightly, still slow, still even, but lighter now. The body begins its gentle return from deep rest, guided by instinct rather than thought. Fingers relax and curl again, finding ease in stillness. Outside, the sky lightens a shade at a time. Snow reflects the faint change, glowing softly without brightness. Somewhere far away, a single sound, perhaps ice settling, perhaps a distant bird, appears and fades, leaving the quiet undisturbed. Inside the cave, ash lies smooth in the fire pit, cool and undisturbed. The memory of warmth remains in the stones, enough to keep the balance through this final stretch of night. Everything has been prepared well. The caveman shifts once more, settling into a calm, comfortable stillness, as if the body knows there is time yet to rest. The cave holds him gently, and the world waits, patient and quiet, for the day to arrive. Morning begins to reveal itself at last, not with sound or motion, but with a soft widening of light. It slips into the cave slowly, touching the stone floor and walls with a pale, gentle glow. The darkness retreats without resistance, leaving calm behind. The caveman remains still for a while longer, resting in the final moments of deep comfort. Warmth still lingers beneath the hides, held patiently by stone and earth. His breathing is slow and easy, carrying the quiet strength of a body that has rested well. At last, his eyes open. There is no rush to rise. He looks toward the cave entrance where the world waits, bright but peaceful. The cold remains outside, respectful of the shelter that has kept him warm through the long Ice Age night. He sits up slowly, stretching his arms and shoulders, feeling no strain, only readiness. The ground beneath him is cool, steady, familiar. He draws the hides back carefully, preserving their warmth for later. The fire pit lies quiet, ash smooth and pale. He knows the next steps already, without thinking. Fire will return, stones will warm, another day will move forward at its own gentle pace. For now he pauses in the soft morning light, breathing deeply, feeling safe, warm and awake, as the cave holds the last echoes of night. The morning settles fully now, calm and unhurried, filling the cave with a gentle, even light. The caveman moves slowly, honoring the quiet that carried him through the night. He kneels by the fire pit and begins again, dry fibers arranged with care, twigs placed patiently, stone meeting stone in a soft, familiar rhythm. A spark catches, smoke curls upward, the flame appears, small and steady, and warmth returns without effort. He feeds the fire just enough, watching it find its balance. The cave responds at once, stone absorbing heat, air softening, the last coolness of night easing away. He warms his hands and face, feeling the comfort spread. Outside, the frozen land glows pale and still, untouched and waiting. Inside, the cave feels complete, shelter, warmth, routine, and rest woven together as they have always been. He places stones near the fire, knowing they will hold today's warmth for the night to come. Then he sits back, breathing slowly, letting the steady presence of flame and stone anchor him. Another cycle begins, not as something new, but as a continuation of what has always worked. The fire hums quietly. The cave remains still. Morning holds its gentle place, and the body feels ready without being rushed. Warmth settles, calm deepens, and the world feels balanced once more. The fire burns low and steady now, and the cave feels peaceful, safe, and complete. Thank you for sharing this quiet journey into the ancient past, into warmth held by stone, patience shaped by routine, and rest found beneath Ice Age stars. As you settle into sleep, allow the slow rhythm of fire and breath to carry you deeper into calm. If this story brought you comfort, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a gentle comment about where you're listening from and what time it is for you. May your night be warm, your rest deep, and your dreams as quiet as a prehistoric cave beside a dying fire.